I'm Susanna Morgan. I'm the CEO at Oregon Food Bank. At Oregon Food Bank, we hold people experiencing hunger at the center of everything we do, and we operate with deep care for folks who are worried about how to feed themselves and their families. We know you share this value with us, and we know that you show up every day to volunteer and to work in anti-hunger organizations, hoping to do the best for your neighbors. So thank you for being the folks who interact directly with our neighbors experiencing hunger, and thank you for bringing your compassion, your generosity, your understanding to every interaction. Let me tell you why food safety is important and why it's something that you should pay attention to in your work at food pantries and soup kitchens and other anti-hunger agencies around the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington. It is important because people experiencing hunger have compromised health. Their health is compromised because of the food that they may not have access to, and compromised diets. It's compromised because of health conditions that they're bringing to this situation that makes it harder for them to work. And it may be compromised because of the housing situations in which they live. And so it is incredibly important for the food that passes through our hands, that passes through your hands, contribute to their health and not compromise it further. Food safety is also important because of the food that we handle. 20 years ago, when I started in food banking, we mostly handled boxes and cans. But today, nearly half of the food that you are going to distribute is going to be fresh. Fresh produce, fresh dairy, frozen vegetables, and how we handle these things matter. We need to handle them in the proper temperature. We need to understand how bacteria and other pathogens may get into those foods so that we can be sure that we're handing out fresh, safe food. Thank you. Thank you for being staff and volunteers at anti-hunger agencies all across the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington. Without you, hundreds of thousands of our neighbors would not have enough food on their table. So your sore backs, your dirty hands, your weary smiles, you make it happen. Thank you.
Hi, and thanks for taking the time to watch the Oregon Food Bank food safety video. When working at a partner agency, you are the first line of defense against foodborne illness. At every step in the flow of food, we as food handlers must take care not to contaminate the food we're working with. The people we serve rely on us to keep them safe, and foodborne illness is almost always preventable. Here are some basics to keep in mind. No matter how careful you are, you can spread disease to others by coming into contact with their food. It's important not to work or volunteer if you've experienced the following symptoms within the last 24 hours. Diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, which is a yellowing of the skin or eyes, or a sore throat with a fever.
Proper hand washing and good personal hygiene are key to keeping clients safe from foodborne illness. All staff and volunteers who handle food should bathe daily, wear clean clothes, keep fingernails clean and well trimmed, and avoid wearing jewelry. Washing your hands is the most important thing you can do to prevent foodborne illness. So let's start by learning about proper hand washing. Hand washing should always be done in a sink designated only for that purpose. If you wash your hands in a sink that is used for other purposes, they can easily become contaminated. For example, if you wash your hands in a sink that is used to rinse mops, those mops could brush against the faucet and the faucet could pass contaminants to your hands. Those contaminants could then come in contact with someone's food, creating a potentially dangerous situation. Wet your hands and arms with warm water, and it should be at least 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. Apply soap, scrub for 20 seconds, rinse hands and arms well, dry hands and arms with a paper towel, use a paper towel to turn off the faucet, and use a paper towel to open the restroom door. Hand washing signs should be posted near every sink designated for hand washing. You're required to wash your hands after using the bathroom. If you are preparing food, you must wash your hands once in the bathroom and again when you return to the food prep area. You also must wash your hands after sneezing, coughing, or using a tissue, touching your body, touching clothes or aprons, handling raw meat, poultry, seafood, or unpackaged known allergens, taking out the trash, after smoking, chewing gum, or tobacco, handling chemicals such as cleaning products, leaving and returning to the kitchen prep area, clearing tables, or bussing dirty dishes. Hand washing alone will not always keep people safe. A few other things you can do are wear single-use gloves if coming into contact with exposed food. Remember, single-use gloves must be discarded every time you take them off, even for a quick cell phone check. If you have an infected wound, you should not work. If you have a wound on your hand or wrist that is not infected, make sure it's properly bandaged and covered with a glove.
Another way to keep people safe is by preventing cross-contamination, which is the transfer of harmful bacteria to food from other foods or contaminated objects. Contamination can come from 4 sources: raw food, especially meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs; soiled food service equipment, such as a knife or a cutting board; dirty contaminated gloves, cloths, or clothing; and dirty contaminated hands. Preventing allergen cross-contact is another critical step in ensuring food safety. Cross-contact occurs when an allergen from one food is transferred to a food that does not contain the allergen. Some people are very allergic to certain foods. In some cases, allergies are so severe that even a tiny speck of food can trigger illness or even death. Here are the most common allergens you may see at your partner agency. Remember, the goal is to keep these from coming into contact with other foods: milk and dairy products, soy, eggs, fish, tree nuts, including walnuts, pecans, and almonds, peanuts, shellfish, such as crab, lobster, and shrimp, and wheat. In the cooler or freezer, always store these below other food. With dry goods, do your best to keep these products separated and below other foods, especially in the case of foods that can drip or fall onto other products, or powders such as wheat flour. Here are a few ways to protect against cross-contamination and cross-contact. Clean and sanitize surfaces. This will be covered later in the video. Inspect packaging for defects and signs of contamination. Keep allergens separate from other products whenever possible. Always wash hands and change gloves after handling allergens or raw meat. Always store meat below other products in the cooler and freezer. Never eat, drink, chew gum, use chewing tobacco, or smoke in a food storage or prep area. And again, avoid storing allergens above other products as they can drip or fall onto other food.
Proper cleaning and sanitizing of facilities and equipment is critical to ensuring safe food. These are the steps of proper cleaning and sanitizing. First, remove bits of food from the surface. Wash with soap and water. Rinse with clean water. Sanitize with a bleach solution. Add 1 teaspoon bleach per gallon of warm water. Adding more could be dangerous. Never use very hot or very cold water. Always allow surface to air dry. How often do I clean and what? Everything in your operation should be cleaned regularly. However, a good rule of thumb is that all food contact surfaces must be thoroughly cleaned and sanitized before use, after contact with food, when changing from working with one type of food to another, when an interruption lasts long enough for potential contamination, every 4 hours during constant use, and of course, when you're done. Proper cleaning reduces the possibility of pest infestation at your partner agency. Here are a few things to consider when setting up a cleaning routine. Make sure garbage cans are covered and clean. Clean spills right away. Take out recycling and garbage frequently. Always keep food off the floor.
While we're on the topic of pests, did you know that every partner agency in the network is responsible for maintaining a pest control program? There are 2 ways to go about this. The first option is to hire a licensed pest control operator. The second option is to administer your own program. If you go this route, make sure to adhere to the following. Rodent traps should be set and checked regularly. Document findings on a pest control log. Keep in mind that no poison, pesticides, or allergens like peanut butter or cheese may be used as bait. Indian meal moths, also known as pantry moths, are a common pest in food storage areas. They like to lay their eggs in bags of rice or other grains. It's a good idea to periodically check bags of rice and grains for moth eggs. The best way to avoid pest problems is to prevent entry. Make sure that windows and vents are well sealed and that there are no gaps wider than 1/4 inch under or around doors. Remember, if a pencil can get through, so can a mouse.
Food can become contaminated during transit and storage, and can contaminate your facility. Therefore, it is a good practice to inspect food as you receive it into your agency. Always check food drive and donated products, as we cannot be certain that it was stored properly. Here are a few things to look out for. Inspect cans looking for rust, dents on the seams or rim, swollen or bulging cans, holes or leakage, and missing labels. Inspect jars looking for swollen or dented lids, loose lids, discolored products, mold or foreign objects, missing labels. When receiving fresh products, you want to find and discard product with mold, decay, or rot, product with signs of insects or insect eggs, produce repackaged and packaging not safe for food, produce with severe bruising and or broken skin, cut produce that has not been refrigerated. Home cooked and canned goods should never be accepted. You should also look out for signs of insects and rodents, which are typically droppings and chew marks. When receiving refrigerated and frozen product, look out for signs of improper thawing and time temperature abuse. Severe ice buildup, signs of melting and refreezing, torn packaging, leakage. Additionally, discard all perishable products not held at appropriate temperatures. Items that arrive thawed cannot be refrozen. Discard perishable meat, pork, or poultry product not frozen by its sell-by date.
It is important that food be stored 4 inches off the ground at all times. Never place food on the ground, even in boxes or crates. Storing food off the ground allows you to keep your pantry clean and greatly reduces the risk of pest infestation. It is also important to keep food away from the walls to allow for adequate airflow. It is a best practice to leave a clear perimeter between the walls and your shelving, and there must be a clear perimeter between any food stacked on pallets or crates and the wall. If possible, leave enough room to clean. The FIFO method is a system of rotation that ensures that food does not sit on your shelves for too long. FIFO stands for first in, first out. Move food that has been stored the longest to the front of the shelves for quick distribution, putting newer food behind it. In addition to ensuring that you're distributing the freshest food possible, proper rotation keeps pests from settling on food and helps to avoid stockpiling. Food that requires refrigeration is at risk of contamination when stored between 41 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. This is commonly known as the temperature danger zone. Keep in mind that the people we serve often have to travel a long way to get to our partner agencies. So food that requires refrigeration should be kept as cold as possible to ensure they can get it home safely.
Refrigerators should be between 33 and 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and freezers should stay below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Dry storage areas should be kept between 50 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Higher temperatures can spoil food and allow pests to hatch and flourish. Keep temperature logs of your cold storage units and update them daily whenever your agency is open. Measure and record the ambient temperature in your dry storage areas at least once a week.
It's important that we keep food safe while in transit from Oregon Food Bank or any other pickup location to your facility. Here are a few simple guidelines to help you keep food safe from point A to point B. The most important thing to remember is that refrigerated product must remain at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit, and frozen product must remain at or below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. If a product comes out of a refrigerator or freezer, it needs to go back into a refrigerator or freezer as quickly as possible. And always use passive or active refrigeration when transporting temperature-sensitive products. Active refrigeration is a truck with a refrigeration device. Passive refrigeration is a cooler or a refrigerator blanket. If you use passive methods, make sure food is fully covered and always keep delivery times as short as possible.
Because it's nearly impossible to control for all potential hazards when repacking food, we recommend you do not repack food at your agency. However, if you find it necessary to repack dry, shelf-stable food, you must first contact the network compliance team so they can ensure your process meets national standards.
Proper recall procedures ensure contaminated or mislabeled product are not consumed by clients. Many recalls are aimed at keeping potentially lethal allergens from reaching people without their knowledge, or keeping potentially contaminated food from making people sick. Each agency must designate a recall coordinator who will be alerted in the event of a recall. It's critical that the recall coordinator understand their responsibility. So let's go through the proper recall procedures. The regional food bank will alert the recall coordinator. RFBs have different procedures, so make sure your recall coordinator is aware of the methods used to alert agencies to recalls. Additionally, the most up-to-date recalls are often available on the homepage of Inside the Network. In the event of a recall, the coordinator will combine, label, and isolate recalled product in a designated location. Product will then be placed on hold. Once those steps have been completed, always wait for instructions from Oregon Food Bank or your regional food bank before taking further action. You will never be asked to discard or destroy product at your site. Product will either be cleared for distribution or returned to Oregon Food Bank or your regional food bank. Thank you for taking time to learn more about food safety. We hope if you have further questions, you'll contact your regional food bank.